Hi, I'm Treacy O'Keefe, and I also am so honored to be in your book, Joan. I really am. When I was first asked to be in a book about successful women, I thought you were kind of kidding, because I think I've attained some moderate success as a writer. I have one book out, and as a speaker, and I host a radio show. But really the thing that I am most proud of in terms of my personal assessment of my own success is that I started a nonprofit holistic healing center called Well Within in 2004. And Well Within offers low-cost and free holistic healing therapies and support groups and psychotherapies. And it's just been wonderful. We've helped thousands of people over the last few years. But the journey towards getting there is what I want to talk about tonight, because doing so has meant I've incorporated a process that I use. It's a 4-part process that I believe enables me to live fully. And I think if we live fully, if we become the person we're meant to be, that's success for me. So I'm going to weave my story in with these 4 steps. The first step is to pay attention. Pay attention to the things in your life that seem to happen for a reason. Pay attention to the coincidences that happen, especially when things happen 3 times. For me, the whole journey towards Well Within started because 3 things happened in 2 days, prompting me to become a hospice volunteer. I had always had a feeling I would work with people that were at the end of life, but I was in the corporate world, so I go to seminars on it, and I didn't know where it was going to lead me. So when those 3 things happened, it was like God was tapping me on the shoulder to do that. So I did, even though it wasn't, in my mind, the right time. Doing that introduced me to my first patient, who kept suggesting I become a spiritual director. We'd have these deep, wonderful talks that you do at the end of life with some people. So she kept saying that to me, and I paid attention to the coincidence, or not, of the fact that my spiritual director invited me to be in her class at St. Kate's. She was the head of the program there. So because I believe that that's how God works in these meant-to-be moments, I left the nice-paying, moderately successful job in the corporate world and went back to school and became a spiritual director. So those are all part of the paying attention things to the first step. The second step required reflection, and that happened when I got cancer, breast cancer. Coincidentally, again or not, I was diagnosed the day after my patient died. So I was able to finish my responsibilities to her and then go into my own healing journey. And in doing that, I received healing touch and other holistic therapies. So in reflecting upon my journey, that's step 2, reflection, what I was trying to do was make meaning of my cancer. And we hear this all the time at Well Within. You want to find meaning in it. Not why did it happen, but now that this has happened, what am I going to do about it? So I became trained in healing touch. I became a spiritual director, and I started volunteering at a center that does what we do now. Saw people, I loved it. It was very meaningful. Didn't make any money. I was doing it as a volunteer, just as I do now. But when that center closed, the director of that center and I wanted to keep seeing the people that were coming. So we'd see them in their houses, in our houses. We wanted to open a center, but the challenge was we had no money, we had no space, we had no resources. She was working for nothing, hardly, and I was totally a volunteer. And so that was our challenge. But again, this was a spiritual path for us. So the third step that we used in this process was asking for help, asking for guidance. God, if this is what you want me to do, then we need this, we need money, we need donors, we need all this. And you know what? We got it all. And so eventually I realized that the good Lord wants us to do something. If we're doing what we're meant to do, we get everything that we need to do it, don't we? We really do. So then you come to that point of being able to trust. And that enabled us to do the last step, which was say yes to the opportunity to open Well Within. We had a perfect space that opened up. We had volunteers that showed up. We had donors that showed up, board members that showed up. And we opened Well Within in 2004 with $16,250, which is ridiculous, ridiculous. My husband and I signed a 3-year lease, ridiculous. But we were trusting that this was what we were meant to do. And so you walk in that leap of faith. So that's the first, so those 4 steps: paying attention, reflect, ask for help, and say yes. So I said yes to that. It's the best thing I ever did. I also said yes to the prompting to write my first book, Then Places Where Faith is Affirmed and Hope Dwells, even though I frankly don't like to write that much. And I said yes to finishing my second book, which is called Meant to Be Moments, discovering what we are called to be and do. So I live this way. I have for 20 years, and I highly recommend it. Joan, I want to thank you for saying yes to all the things you do. Joan is a mentor to a lot of us writers, speakers, and mainly, Joan has spoken at Well Within. Mainly, you are a role model for living life to the fullest. So Joan, I want to thank you. Get an old kind of her clap.